So for my math project, I decided to compare Allen Iverson and Kyrie Irving through points per game, turnover percentage, and defensive box plus minus. Points per game is pretty self-explanatory. Turnover percentage is pretty much the amount of times the person turns the ball over in 100 possessions. In 100 plays, the less, the better. And then box plus minus is the defensive contribution comparative to the average league NBA player, and the negatives are bad and the positives are good. So to start with points per game, I did a histogram. Soak that in for a second. Anyways, Allen Iverson is better in the histogram in points per game because he has a higher minimum in comparative to Kyrie's minimum. He also has a higher maximum, which you can't see in the histogram, but if you looked at the data, it would be 27.6 to 27.4. He is more consistent. You can see this in the histogram. His data is a lot less of a range, and if you looked at the stats, he would also have a less standard deviation. And he also has a higher center of 25 to the 23 of Kyrie Irving's. Next, we go on to turnover percentage. For this, I used a stem plot. It might be a little bit hard to understand. Pretty much, here's the key. The 10 and then the 1, that's the decimal place. That's what I had to do because the data is so close together. Now, as you can see, they are right skewed, if you were to turn it. But there's a gap in Allen Iverson's data at 12. That causes Kyrie to be slightly greater in turnover percentage due to the stem plot because he is more consistent. You can see the less of the range, and if you looked at the data, there would be less of a standard deviation. However, Allen Iverson does have lower points on the left side of the graph, so that he means he has a lower minimum. And Kyrie only slightly better than him on mean, which if you look at the data would be 11.35 to 11.81. Now finally, we're looking at defensive box plus minus. This is the best defensive stat you can use, so I decided to use it. And you can be noted that they have the same maximum score, and Kyrie Irving has a higher quartile 3. However, Allen Iverson is clearly better than Kyrie Irving because he has much more consistent scores. You know what you're going to get out of him, which is right there. He has less of a range, as you can see. He has a higher minimum, so his lowest point is higher than Kyrie's lowest point. He has a higher median and a higher quartile 1. Why that matters is because on his average bad season, on his 25 percentile, you'll get better than what you'd get through Kyrie Irving. So you're looking at these 3 graphs in the data that I concluded. It can be easily said that Kyrie Irving is not as good as Allen Iverson. That's because Allen Iverson is far steps ahead of him in points per game, and I would argue defensive box plus minus, while he is only slightly worse in controlling the ball and preventing turnovers in the turnover percentage stem plot graph. Thank you.